Well, good evening, everyone. Hoping our technology is kicking off okay. I want to welcome you and thank you for joining us this evening. We are so grateful that you're spending some of your Thursday evening with myself and our three panelists. My name is Brian Troyer. I'm the the Dean of Undergraduate Admission at Marquette University. I'm very excited to be here. I'm in my fourth year here. Currently a student at Marquette working on my doctorate in educational policy and leadership studies as well. And I'm joined this evening by my three esteemed panelists. We have, and I'll pull up on the screen here who we've got. We have Dr. John Borowski. He's our Vice President for Enrollment Management. We have Dr. Chris Rapella, Opus Dean of the Opus College of Engineering, and Dr. Xavier Cole, who's our Vice President for Student Affairs. I want to thank them for being with us, but parents, I wanted to pause for a moment and also say thank you to you. We understand right now that more than anything, we wish you were here. We wish you were here with us in Milwaukee. We at Marquette take a great deal of pride in how we care for our students. When I started at Marquette, one of the things that really drew me to this position, and I won't give you my full story, but Marquette was actually my top choice coming out of high school. I'm from South Central Kentucky. There's something that really drew me to Marquette as a Catholic and Jesuit university, and it's right at the beginning of our mission statement. It says, we are here to serve God by serving our students. And really that's what tonight is all about. It's about sharing with you how Marquette, in the midst of these unprecedented times that we're all experiencing, are responding and serving our community. Our community includes, of course, our alumni, our faculty, staff, our administration, but perhaps most importantly, it includes our students. And as the Dean of Undergraduate Admission, I have the distinct honor of signing every admission letter that goes out the door. And I'd be remiss if I didn't just pause for a moment and share with you that one of the things that's really hit me and hit my staff as we have worked to serve the continuing students at Marquette. We also know that there are a bunch of 17 and 18-year-olds in high school all around the country whose senior year just isn't going as planned for a host of different reasons. We want to acknowledge that. We've been doing our best to communicate frequently with them and with you. We're excited to have you join us this evening and really anxious to hear what your questions are. We've certainly had some themes of questions coming into our office that I believe we'll be able to address tonight. But before I dive into just a few quick slides, and this will just take a couple minutes, then we're going to open it up to the Q&A. So parents, I'd like you to invite you, if you can find the Q&A button on your screens, you can go ahead and begin typing in your questions. While Drs. Borowski and Cole and Rapella are introducing themselves, I'll start filtering through the questions that you submit. We'll start aggregating them in themes, and I'll pose some questions to our panelists as we go through this evening. As you can see on our screen, what we've got right now is some resources that our staff is easily equipped to share with you at any given point in time, but we want to make sure you have these this evening, knowing many of you are on computers. You may want to go to these tabs right now. These are some of the best spots to go for updated information about how Marquette is responding to the coronavirus. The first URL on the top of the screen there, .edu/coronavirus, is really the Marquette response. It's where we are seeing the most up-to-date information about how Marquette is responding, particularly for our current community. The next link down, .edu/explore/coronavirus, is our Marquette admissions page, where we are responding to a series of questions we've received from students, from school counselors, and from families related to things like admissions policies. How are we handling students with unique transcripts after this disruption? What are we doing about deposit extensions? What are we doing about the fall semester? And most of those that information is housed on that website in the FAQ section. And you can also link from that page into many of our virtual resources as well. And you can see some of those, you can kind of see a screenshot from that page on the screen in front of you. Certainly information about financial aid and scholarships, our housing timeline, graduation requirements through high school, etc. So I'm going to continue to the next slide, and I also want to share something that we're particularly proud of because it's been remarkable to see our Marquette community, both our on-campus community and alumni worldwide, offer video content, knowing that we can't host students and families on campus, but we can showcase who we are and what we do best. And what we do best is extend care, compassion, and direct contact to students throughout the admissions process and to and through college graduation at Marquette. So we're really proud of this virtual content. I encourage you to check it out. This has quickly become one of our top visited pages at Marquette. It's a great opportunity to learn more about our academic programs, our unique visit opportunities, certainly access to our virtual tour. We're hosting department visits and student chats almost every day, and you can certainly find opportunities for chats with our admissions counselors as well as current students at Marquette. So all of that is housed on our virtual content page. You can see that URL there. I said it before, I'll say it one more time. We wish you were here. We know many of you have never been to Marquette before. Some of you may not have been to Milwaukee before. And we're very proud to be in the city of Milwaukee. As you know, we're one of 27 Jesuit universities around the country. We're very proud of our affiliation with the city of Milwaukee, our connection to it. And Milwaukee is a pretty exciting place to be right now, coronavirus or not. We're excited, hopefully, to host the DNC, the Democratic National Convention, later this summer. Of course, the Milwaukee Bucks were leading the NBA in the best record in the NBA through the season. So Fiserv Forum, which you can kind of see there toward the top left of your screen with that white curved roof. That's also where our men's basketball team plays, and it's where we get some of the best sense of our school spirit on campus. But really, this is just a nice image of campus, and you can see we're also located very close to Lake Michigan, about a little more than a mile due west from Lake Michigan. And if you're coming to campus for one of our programs, we'd like to highlight kind of where our campus is in relation to the city. Everything in the non-shaded area is the Marquette campus. You can see everything from the bottom left corner of the screen. The Commons, which is our newest residence hall. You can see almost all of our residence halls in this image. You can see the academic area, which if you follow on the kind of the right side of the screen, there's a beautiful row of red trees. To the right of that image is where our academic area is housed. You'll hear from Dean Rapella shortly. Their College of Engineering has their buildings on the south side of Wisconsin Avenue, but everything on Marquette's campus is walkable. We love hosting people on campus. We're excited to be able to do it here soon. This last slide before I turn it over to our panelists is our Stay Connected slide. I'm going to pull this back up at the end of the presentation. If you just want to jot down a few numbers or resources, again, some highlights for the URLs that we'd encourage you to check out. But most importantly, one of the best things that we can do right now, knowing that we can't see you in person and shake your hand and show you around our beautiful campus, is we can be available to you when you need us. We know that right now we are officially 8 days until the May 1st deposit deadline. I assume we'll have some questions, and I may have seen some pop up already about what Marquette is doing about our May 1st deadline. Well, it is a national commitment deadline, and we have established that and maintained that. But we have a very easy to use extension request form. I can tell you we've been granting all requests. It just gives us an opportunity to have a conversation with families who just maybe need a little bit more time or want to talk to somebody before they make that final decision to choose to go to Marquette. And so actually on these various URLs, it's the /explore/coronavirus is where you could actually find on the FAQs, the very first FAQ that you would see there, asked about the enrollment deposit. For many students, they've been gearing up for May 1st, their entire senior year. We want to celebrate that excitement with them, and we know most of our students will make the decision to attend Marquette by next Friday. But if you do need more time, we certainly want to extend that to you as well. And that's really our goal for tonight. Before I turn it over to our panelists here, is really to talk to you about what we think is so special about Marquette, knowing that you're weighing a lot of options at this point. I want to pause here and before I wrap up and just say a sincere congratulations. Congratulations to you as the family members of these students who have done remarkable things to get to this point. There's been a tremendous amount of time, energy, sweat, tears, etc. That has brought them to this milestone of high school graduation and their college decision. We're honored that you're considering Marquette in that process. We certainly would love to see you here this fall. And part of the goal of this evening is to get you connected right away with some of the people that will extend that service that I mentioned at the beginning of this session, that idea of serving God by serving our students. These are some of the people who do it remarkably well, and it's really my honor to introduce you to them. So what I'm going to ask, and we'll start with Dr. Rapella, if you don't mind, and then we'll go to Dr. Cole and then Dr. Borowski. What I'd like you to do is just introduce yourself, talk a little bit about how long you've been on campus, what your role is currently, and what that kind of means, what it means to be a dean of a college or VP for student affairs or enrollment management, and then just talk a little bit about your Marquette story. So Dr. Rapella, do you mind starting us off?
Sure. Thank you very much, Brian. And I want to say, like Brian said, I want to congratulate all you on your acceptance to Marquette, and I sure hope we'll see you in our in our classrooms and on campus in the fall. So I am currently serving as the Dean of the Engineering College at Marquette. I'm actually a Marquette alum. I did my undergraduate degree at Marquette in engineering. Went away for graduate school and was really fortunate to come back as a faculty member. So I've been a professor for 30 years now. I came as a professor. I spent some time serving as a department chair of biomedical engineering, and I've been the dean. This is my 5th year as the dean. My number one priority as a dean is always our students, and the way we're preparing our students to go out in the world, to be servant leaders, to be men and women who are truly making a difference. And we always put that first in terms of what we make in terms of our decisions of strategy, priorities, where we put our investments of time, money, resources, and treasure. So just really honored to be leading that college. Great group of faculty, students, and staff who I think are really making a difference in the world, like so many of our Marquette people. So I will be saying more and answering some of the questions, but I'm going to turn it over to some of my other colleagues.
Good evening, parents and families. My name is Xavier Cole, Vice President of Student Affairs here at Marquette. I extend also my congratulations. Marquette is a fine Jesuit Catholic institution among many, but we think that our community is extremely special. This is the end of my 4th year at Marquette. I came in 2016. I was no stranger to Jesuit education before I came to Marquette. I had spent almost 20 years at another Jesuit Catholic institution on the East Coast before coming to Marquette. And truth be told, after being at one place for such a long time with such an affinity for this other school, I never actually thought that I would love any other school the way I love that institution. Within 6 to 8 months, I'd really been so hospitably welcomed into Marquette. My first day on campus was the athletics picnic for the summer, meeting all the coaches. My colleagues in athletics, each of them brought me gear from their particular teams. My wife and I didn't own any Marquette gear. Now, any of my colleagues will tell you that I have more Marquette gear than anyone likely on campus, and I wear it proudly every day. And after we beat Villanova when they were #1 and we were not on campus, and the students rushed the floor, I'd never experienced anything so exciting in my natural life. And so I quickly became a Marquette basketball fan. And to tell you, and what really makes this place special are the people, my colleagues like Dr. Browski and Brian Troy and Dr. Rapella and others. We're such a close community, and we know how well we work collaboratively and with common goal and mission with how we've responded in this COVID crisis. We've done remarkable work so far to bring ourselves back together, to deliver this education back to the students we currently have, and to prepare for you. So know that we're preparing really hard for you to be on campus with us in the fall. My area deals with student engagement, leadership, accountability. For the campus, we are the folks that work with them outside the class, your students outside the classroom. We also govern where your students live, where they eat, where they're made well by our clinical services. We're like a small city, and that's a big part of my job, to make sure that those functions work in conjunction with my academic partners. So I will be quiet for now, but I look forward to answering your questions and engaging you about all the reasons why I love Marquette, and hope that you'll love it too.
So good evening, I'm John Borowski. I'm the Vice President for Enrollment Management. And Dr. Cole and I actually started on the same day 4 years ago. And I consider him among the best colleagues and friends that I have in this incredible community that Marquette is. I'm also no stranger to Jesuit education. I have both my bachelor's and my doctorate degree from Jesuit universities, and coming to Marquette was like stepping into a new home that felt very comfortable and was also very, very exciting. And it's been an amazing run of meeting some amazing students with incredible career goals, and meeting our Jesuits and working with our Jesuits. Just an amazing experience being here. Among the areas I supervise beside the admission office would include the financial aid area, Marquette Central, our registrar area, things like the Equal Opportunity Program, our tutoring, our student educational services area with coaching and things like that. So beyond working on helping recruit students, and I hope maybe I've met some of you in my travels around the country, when you arrive on campus, our area works in conjunction with Dr. Cole's area to provide the services to make sure that you'll be a successful student and you'll graduate. And I'd encourage you, as you're making your college decision, take a look at those statistics that show success on the websites of the schools you're looking at. We have an amazing 90% retention rate of our first-year students and an 80% graduation rate. These are considered exemplary numbers in the United States. And it shows the care and the attention that our students receive from our faculty and our deans and people like Dr. Rapella. And I think you would find this to be a great investment of your time and your resources to be a student and then an alum at Marquette University.
Well, thank you, all three of you. I really do appreciate the volume of questions that is coming in. And so my job as the moderator here is to kind of synthesize those into a few themes and pose those to our panelists. And I'll tell you that right out of the gate, if you're just joining us now, be sure to log into the Q&A. Just hit that button. You can type in the questions. I can see them on my screen, and I'm kind of jotting down some notes, and we'll pose those to the panelists. I would say there's two themes that came up right away, and I think this is a group that's well prepared to address both of these. The first one is just in light of the uncertainty, and I hope I'm capturing the spirit of some of your questions, families. Given this time of uncertainty right now, and I appreciated how one family member shared this question. I think sums it up very well, recognizing that it's rare that any of us know anything about what's going to be happening 1 month from now, 2 months from now, let alone 4 months from now, when we hope our semester begins. So the way this question is phrased is, what are the tentative plans for the fall semester based on the current COVID-19 situation? And I'll share that we actually have our Board of Trustees meeting on our campus next week. And obviously this is top of mind for everybody. And so Dr. Borowski, do you mind if I start with you? But then I know Dr. Rapella and Dr. Cole, you've also been knee deep in these conversations. And so I really would love your perspectives on, again, what are the tentative plans for fall semester at Marquette University based on the current situation?
Well, I would say from my perspective, we're committed to working at being open in the fall, actually having on-campus classes. But I would really defer to Dr. Cole, who's one of the leaders in our COVID response team and is doing much of the planning behind that.
Well, families, as you well know, what we're working with as far as variables a month ago has changed till today, and I'm sure will change 2 months from now. Right now, we are planning to have an in-person, on-campus experience for your students. The reasons why is that we're working with medical experts locally and nationally to try to keep abreast of the best information possible for not just the country, but for our region about what this pandemic might be doing at that time. And there are good indicators that show that things will be loosening up and that we'll be able to move a little bit more freely as the next couple of months go on. So to that end, the university is in scenario planning to be open in the fall, and how we would be able to deliver the best in-class and in residence experience with the social distancing and healthcare measures that are best for that time. Those things have changed from 2 weeks ago, and they'll change further as we go further into the summer. But we do believe from the sources that we have, some of them who serve on our Board of Trustees, that we believe that things will be opening up. Of course, your safety, the safety of our faculty and our staff are paramount on our minds. And so we're going to do what is best prescribed by our local health department and our state and our region. So we will be looking towards their guidance as well about how much we can open up, when we can open up, and we'll be modeling to try to test out how we would open up with safeguards in the classroom, in the residence halls, and in other places where people congregate, like dining halls, to make sure that we can keep people as safe as possible. We'll likely see possible use of PPEs. I know that's a term that's become common for many folks. So masks, of course, gloves, washing of hands, There will be protocols, I think, that we will all need to subscribe to keep us all as safe as possible. And we'll certainly be thinking about those who may be immunocompromised and whether they're on our faculty or staff or students, to make sure we can keep them particularly safe. We clearly don't know what all those things are precisely right this second, but know that we're scenario planning as the information comes in and as we get more of a forecast about what will be happening. So know that we're flexible, limber, and ready to respond as things change.
Thank you, Dr. Cole. Dean Rapella, if I can ask you about maybe looking back, a little more than a month ago, we had to transition pretty quickly on the academic side of things for faculty to be able to educate our students in a virtual format. Hearing, what Dr. Cole has shared and understanding that, still some things are unknown, but we are planning for an on-campus experience this fall. Can you just talk a little bit about that transition on the faculty side for how we did it? We went about it as a campus this semester, and then sort of what contingency plans might be taking place for fall, depending on what we need to do as a campus. And I just noticed you're on mute, so before you respond, you can unmute there.
Yeah, sorry, thank you.
Perfect.
Thank you, Brian. So first to your first part of your question is the transition we've had in the last month. So once sort of state and guidelines, federal guidelines said, we can't do business as usual anymore and everyone's going to have to stay home, we very quickly transitioned some 1,500 courses on there on campus into online format. Really proud of our faculty and students and staff for how they came together to make that happen. And so all of our courses were put online very rapidly, I can tell you that. And our IT departments had put a lot of new technology in place and enhance existing technology so that we could do that to ensure that all of our students, and that included, we have rental computers for students. It was opening up hotspots in various locations. So we made sure that all of our students have equal access to the education that we're going to be doing online. There are faculty who had never done anything online, and there were other faculty really good at it. And I think true to the Marquette spirit, people were like, the attitude was, we have to make this happen. We have to make it quick, and we're going to help each other figure this out. And we went in with an attitude of, this is not about perfection. It's not about being ideal. It's not about, nobody wants this, nobody likes this, but we don't have a choice. And so in that true Jesuit spirit of go out with nothing on your back and make a difference, and got to be comfortable with the uncomfortable, everybody rose to that occasion. So we put all the courses online using things like Microsoft Teams and our D2L web application, so that faculty can post their reading materials in there and exams and quizzes and stuff online, and they could meet with their classes virtually. So I was really impressed with how well people did this, and particularly how faculty and staff helped each other, created buddy systems. We offered throughout campus a whole lot of training line sessions for an entire week, I think every hour on the other for 24 hours, so that within a week, everybody was there and they made it happen. And and students and faculty along the way said, look, we're going to help each other. So there was a real sense of community spirit with knowing that none of us asked for this, but we're going to help each other because that's going to serve us best. And so students help faculty, faculty help students. Everyone just took a real positive mindset, and everybody is so committed to the Marquette community and the Marquette learning environment that they made it work. And so I still teach a class and we meet during regular class times online, and I've made it really easy to, I've done video content in my lecture, posted online so they can do this offsite. And, the students have all been very and I will tell you, we just did a survey of all of our engineering students about their experience, and they were very complimentary of how caring faculty are and how much faculty are willing to give of their time online and after hours and on weekends to make sure that these students can still learn and have a good Marquette experience. So really, we're happy where that's gone. That Marquette has also implemented a pass-fail option for students. So at the end of the semester, after they already get the grades, if they just feel like grades in a class don't reflect what they were able to do, they can, choose a pass-fail grade instead for the semester. So trying to be real accommodating for students in that situation, and realize that many of them don't have an opportunity to show their best academic performance in this very challenging environment. And communication is everything. So as a college, university leadership, Many universities, faculty and staff throughout campus meet every single day to make sure that we are adapting to the challenges, thinking about what's a problem in doing that. Our college meets every single day, and faculty are meeting regularly with students. And I've also talked to a group of students today who, and they said, even the students are meeting behind the scenes to think about how they'd be ambassadors to help with recruiting new students and getting their colleagues, their fellow students to come back to campus. So really a lot has gone well, I think, in what we've adapted. Going forward for next fall, we all want to be back on campus. The faculty want to be back in the classroom with the students. The students want to come back to class. You know, as I say, you know, college isn't just about academia. It's only, I think, half of the experience. The other half is being in that relatively safe environment to learn how to become an adult and become your own person. And we all know that student success tends to be much more enhanced when students can be on campus and live as a community. Students like to be on teams with each other. They like to study with each other. They want to be in a team environment. We require a lot of team and project work. That has been much more challenging with this online. It's not impossible, we can do it, but they also want to be in the company of each other. They miss being in their communities, in the residence halls. Our engineering hall students live there 24/7. They really miss being there. They tell us this all the time. And it's such an important part of growing up and figuring out who you want to be and how you want to give to the world. So we plan to be back on campus. And as Xavier said, we will take all kinds of precautions, and we are paying attention to CDC and federal and state guidelines. But, you know, as you know, an important part of our Marquette mission is creating servant leaders. We want our students to be those bold, courageous servant leaders who have great integrity and go out and be men and women for others. And it's really hard to do that if we're living in fear and isolation. So in that Marquette spirit and that Nation Jesuit experience, despite the challenges, despite maybe the fears, how do we go out and continue to make a difference? And that's what we're hoping to bring them back to campus to be able to do that.
Thank you all for sharing that. This maybe is a segue toward a different topic, but there's a theme I'm seeing, Dr. Cole, recognizing that the students who've been admitted to Marquette for this fall, you know, haven't been able to experience that community for themselves. Obviously, we've sent out announcements that what is typically an on-campus event, it's a long acronym called Summer Priority Advising and Registration Kickoff. We call it SPARK. Has now transitioned to be Spark at Home in light of recommendations from our health officials. So I think a very fair question to consider is knowing that right now our community is, or the campus itself is very quiet. Somebody asked, you know, are students on campus? And we do know there are a few, and I don't know if you want to speak to that, Dr. Cole, about a few students that we're serving on campus right now. But also, can you just speak a little bit to how your team, and then I think Dr. Rapella, you could also speak to this as well about how college might pursue this as well, can start building that community virtually and what some of those plans are. And Dr. Cole, you're on mute as well if you want to. There you go. You're good.
Thank you, Brian. First of all, I'll tell you a little bit about how our campus responded to our students in the moment. When we decided to send folks home, our folks were already on spring break. So we needed to work as a campus team to get students their academic materials, their computers, their books, their medicines, things that they needed from their residence hall rooms, and allow for some sort of move out for our students. We worked with the health department locally to set up a process that was as safe as could be possible. Our team in Res Life worked really hard to set up that process to be efficient. Some of you may know some friends who maybe participate in that process and can speak to it. But what really made it work is that the entire community of Marquette volunteered, up to 100 volunteers, to come in and get our families in and out quickly and efficiently. The folks that were left were folks who were internationals who could not get home, or folks who were indigent and did not have a home to go to. We held on to those students. We consolidated them into one building. Staff closed the others down, and we will hold on to them as long as we need to until their situation changes. So that's who definitely we are as a community. To speak to how we plan to build community, although we were not planning to have our orientation process for summer in person, the Spark at Home is really being designed with a new online platform to allow for small groups of students led by trained orientation leaders, as they would be on campus, to build virtual community. We would treat it as we would treat the programming, the time that you'd have to talk and get to know each other, team building, virtual tours of campus, resources being introduced to them, talking to them about their academic path, meeting with their advisors, all of that will still happen through a virtual format. And so we have every plan to do that. And I'll tell you that it works. And here's how I know it works. Currently, our RAs, we have empty residence halls, but our RAs are still employed. We kept our RAs and our graduate students. They reach out to their former communities on their floors every day, every week, have hall meetings, check in with them. And I'll tell you that these meetings mean the world to our students whose lives, like everyone else's, were thrown into disarray. The transition to online learning was a little difficult, but being able to talk about their quarantine lives, being at home under parents' rules again, all the things that may be going on, that community still exists. The community that was here on campus translated into a virtual community, and we feel that by having our students and our staff, or Res Life in particular, in orientation, still doing the jobs that they were being paid to do. So that I think will translate well. So I have great confidence that our orientation process will work well. And as we look towards the fall, we're hoping to have more of an in-person with safety situation where our folks can get to know each other, to know our faculty, and to know this campus and this city to quickly make it their home.
Thanks, Dr. Cole. Dean Rapella, if I can turn to you just a moment, and maybe to extend that, maybe through the lens of our academic programs. You're here obviously as the Opus Dean of the Opus College of Engineering, but knowing that this transition period in the next 4 months, in addition to being sort of a social and an emotional transition, an important transition to college, there is that academic transition. We are a direct admitted institution, as everybody is aware, so students are admitted directly into their college. So I'm curious about sort of that onboarding process from the perspective of the colleges, and what you, your advisors, your administrative team, and your faculty are doing maybe now to start preparing for this incoming cohort of freshmen. And I will give you the opportunity here, Dean Rapella, to do a little showcase for the College of Engineering. We've had a couple questions knowing that you're here. What makes our College of Engineering distinctive? And somebody in particular asked about the size of our college and why they might their son or daughter might choose Marquette's College of Engineering as opposed to perhaps a larger one with more students. So I'll leave that to you to respond. But if you can just talk a little bit about the academic transition in the next 4 months for our incoming students.
Okay, so for incoming students, Xavier's really hit on a lot of the Spark activity, which some of our college faculty and staff are very engaged in, as well as students are thinking about, how, what are the courses I'm going to take. We do a lot of advice. So we have a dedicated advising staff in the college who are working around the clock right now, actually helping current students plan for next year, but then we'll be working with the newly admitted students in the summer. And, it's face-to-face. So our advising staff is having these personal one-on-one conversations, people through things like Teams, what other sort of video conference capabilities we have, where we're having these one-on-one conversations with prospective students to talk about, really, for incoming students, it's really about who do you want to be in the world? What are you looking for? What are your strengths? What are your interests? What are your passions, even within engineering? And how do we sort of help match that to what we offer educationally, academically? So I think our advising staff does a really nice job of treating each student as an individual and realizing, as I firmly believe, not everyone looks the same. We're all individual. We all bring an individual face and viewpoint and set of strengths and talents to engineering, and that's good. We want all kinds of different people participating in our educational programs and in our work world as well, right? So how do we give some of that individualized attention? And we have faculty who are right now, both faculty and advising staff, who are making personal phone calls to prospective students to talk about what we have to offer as a college and as a university, and really learning much more about the individual students and helping them think about what are the things they will really love about their Marquette education given their own interests. We have student ambassadors, so many of our existing engineering students also are reaching out to prospective students and talking about their experiences. and how to, giving their sort of tips on how to be academically successful and how to do well in your studies and how to best create relationships with your faculty and staff and get the most out of that. We also have student organizations that are very active. So great leaders in student organizations like Engineering Student Council, Engineers Without Borders, Biomedical Engineering Society. So our own students who are really our best ambassadors, are doing all kinds of activities and reaching out to new students and saying, look, we want new members. Here are other things you can do co-curricularly and in addition to just what you do in terms of academia. So, we know that a big part of student success is being part of the community. And so how do we help a new student find out, where do I fit into that puzzle, and how can I use my talents, my interests, my passion to make a difference in my engineering college or at Marquette and feel like I'm really part of that community. So through some of those things as well, we help the students to onboard. And then we have a Student Success Center, which offers all kinds of tutoring to engineering students. So university-wide has some great tutoring services that are actually happening online, even in this current COVID situation. And we are doing that within the college as well. And so teams of students and staff who are really continuing to help our students with virtual online tutoring to help each individual student with their particular needs, let's say in certain types of courses.
Well, thank you both very much. I've seen a couple questions just mechanically about this program this evening. It is being recorded, so we are able to send that out. We actually had to do a wait list for this program tonight, so we'll be sending it out to folks in the wait list. We also have the slide deck that we are willing to share with everybody who participated tonight. So if you came in a little bit late and you want to see some of those URLs, we'll absolutely be able to share that with everyone. Dr. Borowski, there's another theme kind of emerging in some of these questions, and families, please continue to send them in. But I think somebody boiled it down pretty well. And obviously we've talked this evening about how our plan is to be fully operational this fall, obviously awaiting other updates as they come in from the sources that would need to weigh in on that decision. But that is our plan. But a lot of folks have said, well, what about plan B? And practically speaking, for students who are seniors in high school and looking to make their decision, a few simple questions or questions that I'd like to start with you, and maybe some other folks want to weigh in. First, if a family decides that they don't want to come if we're not fully operational in the fall or that we're operating virtually, would there be an opportunity for a refund, or would students be allowed to defer? Also, if perhaps the university is operational but students aren't living on campus, would room and board fees be waived? And we'll start there, Dr. Borowski, and then I've got some other questions I'll continue with.
Sure. Our normal billing process includes a policy that if you drop before the add drop date, which is a few days into the start of the semester, you can get a full refund on your tuition and you get a prorated refund on your room and board. So if we decided because of medical advice that we had to go online this fall and you decided not to come or to defer, you certainly could get a refund for anything that you would have paid in advance. You could cancel your student loans and things like that. And then you could come in the spring if you prefer to do that as well. So the process is pretty straightforward. It's been in place already. We haven't had to use it in the past, but it's certainly there to alleviate any family worries. But I would say that we would hope you would still come, because we've actually gotten even better at developing an online experience, having to rush into it and pull off an amazing half a semester. Should it happen again, we'd have a pretty engaging fall. But again, like Dean Troyer said, we're clearly planning to be open this fall, provided the health officials allow us to.
That's great. And John, if you don't mind, I'd also like to follow up on, again, a theme that has emerged here, and that is just in light of this pandemic. Obviously, a lot of families at the individual level are experiencing some financial hardships. And you mentioned earlier that in addition to overseeing the Office of Undergraduate Admissions, you also oversee our student success, student educational services, the registrar, and financial aid. And so my question for you is, what advice do you have for families who are experiencing some of those financial challenges in light of this pandemic? What resources are available right now? What can Marquette do to support them? And any advice you have, knowing that we're coming up on this decision deadline, and families want to make sure they have exhausted all their options to make sure that they understand what the full financial picture is of a Marquette education.
Well, first, I'd like to say we clearly understand that you are investors in this enterprise. When you become part of this community, you're sharing your investment, your tuition dollars, your room and board dollars. And we want you to get as much as you possibly can from that experience. Now, we understand that some families are experiencing some financial stress due to job loss, loss of savings, and things like that. We use the FAFSA form to develop our financial aid methodology. So odds are that many of you have already filed your FAFSA, and it uses 2 years ago financial aid data. So it's kind of looking at what a really rosy 2018 might have looked like for you. What I would suggest are two things. The first would be to call our Marquette Central. These are our generalist people that are trained to handle financial aid and general registration questions and explain your individual need to them. They then will direct you, and in the meantime, you're welcome to look at this on our website, to our special conditions form. The federal government gives us an amazing amount of latitude to document any financial changes in a family situation and actually go in on your behalf and make changes within your FAFSA to see if you qualify for more federal aid or Marquette aid. So if you have a job loss, we'd work with you to document the amount of money that we estimate, we meaning you, that you might be out of work for, and the same would be true of assets and things like that. We could then go back and we could recalculate and see if that would qualify you for more aid from either the federal or the state government or from Marquette University. So I would truly ask you to engage with us. I can tell you the answer isn't always yes, because the need has to be fairly significant compared to what you may have listed on your FAFSA. But we are very empathetic people, and we really truly want to see you here. So we want to work with you to see what we can do to make that happen. Thanks, Brian.
Yeah, thank you, John. There's a simple question that I know the answer to, so I'll just chime in really quick. The question is, has the housing timeline process changed? But maybe I'll transition this, Dr. Cole, to a question for you about our exciting residence halls. But the simple answer is, if a student requests a deferral, requests an extension, so they're not ready to make the deposit yet, we are granting extensions to June 1st, as I said at the beginning, for those who request it. There's a simple form on our FAQ site, and I'll share those URLs here at the very end as well. What we've done with the housing assignment process to ensure that nobody is disadvantaged given this timeline, we won't actually disadvantage any students who request an enrollment deposit extension. In fact, we won't actually, I call it pressing a button. It's more complex than that, but understanding that students have shared their housing preferences with us. We obviously have a system that runs to help put students ideally where they've preferenced to make those housing assignments. That won't happen until June 15th. And so what we will do to make sure that we're not disadvantaging any students who need more time to make that decision, we won't be doing that. But Dr. Cole, I do want to give you an opportunity to showcase the outstanding staff and team that you have in housing and residence life. Can you just speak a little bit to what life is like living in a residence hall? Some of these families are saying this is their first student going to college, and any tips or advice you have as they prepare for these next 4 months to transition to moving into the halls?
Sure. My personal experience is a little stale. It's been 30-something years, but it's a much better experience now than from what many of us as parents and our age group would have experienced. A small room with a sink and a footlocker and a black and white TV. So it's much better than that. Our Commons, which is just up for just the last couple of years, is a state-of-the-art suite style residence hall, beautiful common spaces, wonderful dining hall, connected. It's become the new center of campus and traffic where our students go, and really a living room for the university where not just students, but faculty and staff also traverse there to eat in the dining halls, because it offers one of my favorite things, a barbecue place inside. But we also have other traditional residence halls across campus. We are residential for the first couple of years. So it is a requirement if you are living outside of the band of, say, I think it's maybe 30 or 35 miles from campus. You're required to live on campus if you in your first couple of years. And your junior and senior year, we still house many students in our on-campus apartments, but there's plenty of our students who also choose to live in apartments contiguous to campus. So we still are very highly residential. There's plenty to do. Our residence hall staff is top notch. Each building is run by a master's level professional who has been trained in school to know how to develop your students and their social and intellectual competencies outside the classroom and engage them. We have full complements of resident assistant staff that are well trained and not only community development, but also crisis management to keep your children safe as possible. And even though the RAs that we have on campus now have been making videos, which I think you can find somewhere on the admissions site about what it's like to live in their residence hall. So I think you should check those out. Meet some of our current students, very excited and excitable, and take some tours of some of our residence halls. That type of hospitality permeates our campus. And again, I think that's the thing that makes us special, is that this is and it's a Midwestern thing too. I was on the East Coast for a very long time. It's just a very different feel here. How quickly you feel at home, how genuine and authentic the interactions are with community members, whether faculty, staff, or students, or even folks who are just loving Marquette, who are in the community. We feel the Phi-Serve with not just Marquette current folks, tons of alumni live locally, and lots of folks who just love Marquette. And that's just a great feeling. We have a great reputation in town, not only for that, but also as community leaders, as an anchor in the near west side to try to help also buttress our neighborhood. And so why I mention that is because it's not just on campus that the learning happens. This whole city is a laboratory for learning. Our students are deeply into service, but also internships. And so they get to basically explore. Many students don't usually take risks about exploring their surroundings until they go abroad. And then they come back in their senior year and say, I wish I'd been more adventurous earlier in my first year, our second year. Our programming, the work that's being assigned by our faculty really encourages our students to get out into the community and learn and to serve and to walk with our community and experience, frankly, the gritty realities of the world that prepares them for the real world outside of Marquette.
Thanks, Dr. Cole. Dean Rappella, I'd like to follow up on that a little bit. Continuing the housing theme, there is an engineering living learning cohort. We've had a few folks ask about those experiences, maybe outside the classroom, but that are still academic in nature. So a few questions. It's kind of nice actually for me to see some of these questions, families, because we've been in kind of triage mode trying to take care of our campus community. But it's exciting to know that your students are thinking about things like education abroad, undergraduate research, studying abroad, and living learning communities. Yep. And so, Dean Rappella, maybe you can just speak through the lens of the College of Engineering or programs. I'm very familiar with the Engineers Without Borders. I don't know if you want to speak to that, but how are colleges sort of infusing the student experience outside the classroom, but still through the lens of the colleges themselves?
Yeah, thank you, Brian. So yeah, I would like to start with the living learning communities are great. I've had the opportunity to have dinner with young women on the engineering floors in the Commons this year, at least 2 of them, and it's delightful. They're just so happy to be able to meet with faculty and administrators and know that we put our pants on one leg at a time like everybody else, and we're real people, and it's just a delight to have that opportunity to meet with these young students, and they're so bright-eyed and becoming part of the Marquette community and to be able to just share a meal with them and just kind of, sit with them outside the classroom is really important and makes a big impression. So we do a lot of that. The thing I think that really makes us distinct, not only our engineering college, but all of Marquette, our faculty student relationships. We are just the right size that allows faculty to really get to know the students and students to know the faculty, and for us to take time to sit with each of those students over their 4 years and help them discern who they want to be. So whether it's over a meal like that, or it's in the classroom, or it's just one-on-one in our office during an advising session, you help them with homework, we often have all these other conversations. Sometimes it's a good conversation about what they did for spring break, or something about their dog, or whatever it might be, that we're all real people, and we take the time in both our academic and and outside activities to get to know who those real people are, not just the students, but also the faculty. So there's plenty of opportunity to do that through things like these dinners and these meals. And oftentimes faculty and students are side by side doing service learning projects. So we have Engineers Without Borders, and every year they go down to Guatemala and they are building schools and they're putting electricity in villages and they're building clean water systems. And we take students from across campus, not just engineering, to do that, and faculty also from across campus to do that. And, you know, several weeks out of the summer or during spring break. And there are many opportunities around campus to do this. Many of our students do research in faculty labs. So we have a lot of undergraduate students doing research. Our faculty are often paying those students. So, you know, additional source of income, but those students can even start as early as freshman year and then working through senior year. And sometimes that research goes so well that those students continue to go on for their master's and their PhD in these programs as well, or they're going on to medical school or whatever professional schools. So we offer a lot of research opportunities for that in our faculty labs. And it's a good chance for students to really apply what they've learned in the classroom to real world problems. We also have a very strong co-op and internship program in our college. So 75% of our students either do co-op or internship experience with the industry before they graduate. Really important part of engineering education. But again, other colleges and disciplines offer those kinds of industry experiences as well. And many of the employers are our own alumni from Marquette, and so they love hiring Marquette students. And again, just another opportunity to interact with Marquette community in your place of employment and with alumni of the program, forging that sort of Marquette community over the generations, which is great. We, as you said, yeah, so service learning, co-ops and internships, undergraduate research, and then we have like our e-lead program, so excellence leadership program, started as a leadership program intentionally designed for engineering students, and because of generous gifts of our alumni, we've been able to expand it across campus. So now we're recruiting students across campus for this 3-year undergraduate leadership program, true to the Jesuit ethos of servant leadership. So we have students participating in those kinds of academic programs. Study abroad, quite a few of our engineering students do study abroad as well. And some of them are study abroad in more traditional universities, but some of them are also doing it in more of a service learning minded, whether it's in Africa, whether it's in Latin America, those kind of environments as well. So you asked about the size of the college. We have about 1,350 undergraduates in the College of Engineering. It's a great size, I think, in terms of the capacity for our faculty to really get to know every student. I get to know a lot of the students. I may not always remember their name, but I never forget a face. And I do a lot of interaction with the students just through social events. We have a week-long engineering week where we do everything from, you know, bingo with our students to eat what we call engineering ball on a Saturday night, which this year had 550 students, not only from engineering, but from other colleges. And so plenty of social events too. And again, the idea behind that is not just building community, but to let students know that your faculty and staff are just human beings like the rest of them. And we've lived through challenges, and we've had, you know, mixed experiences in our education and academics, and we've had all kinds of experiences in the work world, and just can be a resource for students to learn about where do I want to be when I leave Marquette, and what are my opportunities. And we spend a lot of time connecting our students to alumni. So we have social events, we have industrial advisory boards, other sorts of activities where we give students the opportunity to meet many people out in industry, many of them who are alumni as well.
Thank you so much, Dean Rapella. We still have a few minutes left. We're going to wrap up around 8 o'clock. So I think I've got time for maybe 2 more questions and then a few other notes that I just want to share with the group. And we really do appreciate all these questions. Another theme that's kind of emerged, and I think you three are all really well equipped to respond to this, particularly because we've heard from president level on our campus, and obviously we're preparing for the Board of Trustees meeting next week. But there's just really a question about, you know, in light of all this uncertainty, you know, we see a lot in the news media about how universities are responding and dealing with what for many is a financial crisis. And so I think a lot of folks are curious about schools who maybe have announced they have to cut programs or increase class sizes. And I'd like to offer or invite you all to speak to kind of how you've heard and seen Marquette respond, and what are the core things that we are committed to as an institution, understanding that there's a lot of uncertainty out there about higher education, maybe more broadly. What can we speak to about Marquette University? Dr. Borowski, do you mind getting us started, and then maybe we can let Dean Rapella or Vice President Cole continue?
Sure. So as we saw the virus coming and the need to complete our semester online, we didn't really look at cutting things. What we looked at was how do we invest in the student experience and try to give them as good an experience as they would get if they attended class on campus. So all of our financial decisions are viewed through the lens of, is this a student-centered decision? How does it support student learning? So I think coming through this, we're actually a stronger school with even better use of technology and even a stronger commitment to our students, because we know they've stuck with us. They've experienced a bit of disappointment not being on campus, and we want to be ready to provide them with an even better experience when they arrive on campus this fall. So we don't see larger classes coming. The classes will still be taught by the same amazing professors that have been teaching at Marquette. And I asked Dr. Cole and Dr. Appella to contribute their own ideas on that topic too.
And Dr. Cole, you're muted if you're.
Of course I was. I'm not the most technologically sound.
Hanging in there, you're doing great.
My class has been not asynchronous, but synchronous. So it's a discussion seminar with graduate students in education. But what I've seen from the beginning is that we funneled all of our resources towards the online education ramp up into our IT infrastructure, but also into direct delivery of computers and hotspots and other things that students might need to be able to take advantage of the learning. We took a week break, all faculty, in order to basically be trained by our IT units on how to use the technology. We committed to Teams and D2L as a service delivery. And so all of and we pulled our discretionary budgets back to stop any discretionary spending, to make sure that we had the money to deliver the education that we had promised to our students. And so that for me was the way I saw us responding. And again, the thing that I'll point to, we were already a strong community. This crisis has been an opportunity for us to work much more closely together, to work much more collaboratively, to think about what is the unified goal for Marquette to strengthen Marquette for the future. It wasn't about any individual school or department and their gains. It was all about what can we do as a corpus to pull together to do the best thing and make the best decisions for Marquette and its future first and for our students. We want it to be here for our current students, and we want it to be here and strong for our future students. So I really see us as investing in the right places, which are the people, and the teaching enterprise. And that's coming from a student affairs guy that all of my stuff's outside of the classroom. It's very clear to me as that's where the focus needed to be, to support our faculty to deliver the best that they could to our students right now.
Mm-hmm.
Thanks, Dr. Cole. Anything you'd like to add, Dr. Rappella?
Yeah, I think you said some most major points. I think, as both Xavier and John said, the student is always number one on our priorities. The student experience, student access to education, and students' physical and mental well-being. And I think we think about that all the time with every decision we've made. So if we have to tighten our budgets in certain areas, it's all about how do we still have that high quality educational experience for our students? How do we continue to keep them front and center? And if there are some things that aren't as essential at this time, like everybody else, you're making decisions about what's absolutely essential and what isn't. There are some things that maybe we temporarily halt or stop doing for a while. As you know, athletics has stopped everywhere, so maybe we can't do that right now. But certainly the experience in the classroom and their laboratories, where they're doing a good chunk of their learning, how do we make sure that those students all have good access, that we allow them to still have good access to their faculty, have that one-on-one help when they need it. And we also pay a lot of attention to the mental health aspect, right? This whole experience is hard for a lot of people in this world. Maybe we're already having a number of mental health challenges, and we know many college students are dealing with anxiety, depression, whatever it might be. And so we want to make sure that we're still tending to those needs and paying attention to that and offering the services that they do need. And I think we do a really nice job of that. We care very much. I think most of you will know, people across campus can tell you if a student isn't doing well, we know it. We find it out, we sniff it out, and we are there saying, What's up? What's happening with you? Why aren't you in class? Why aren't you doing a homework? What is it that you need, and how do we make it better? And so I think it's hard for students to get lost in our system. We have a whole campus that keeps an eye on our students in a good way in terms of their mental, physical health and what they're doing academically. So I think we have great services to offer them. Those are services we don't ever want to cut, and we don't ever want to put on the back burner in times of crisis and in times of real challenge.
Mhm.
Thank you all. We have time for one more question, and I started this conversation speaking to Marquette's mission. And Dr. Cole, I'd like to start with you because a few questions that came up said something to the effect of, we appreciate you sharing information about our mission, but we may not come from a Catholic background, or we may not identify with this faith tradition.
Mm-hmm.
So I was wondering if each of the three of you could just end tonight by speaking to how the Marquette mission has impacted you. And Dr. Cole, if you wouldn't mind speaking a little bit to that question about, if I'm not Catholic, if our family doesn't identify with this tradition, will we be welcomed there? I'll start with a quick statistic, just sharing that this past fall, 55% of our incoming freshman class identified as being Catholic on their application. So it is a slight majority, but it's not a significant majority on our campus. And we have students from all faith traditions, or students who identify as having no faith tradition. But I wanted to extend that maybe to you, Dr. Cole, and then we'll go to Dr. Rapella and then with Dr. Borowski.
Of course, our Catholic and Jesuit tradition will be noticed and noticeable, but our campus is very open. Interfaith work is omnipresent. Our campus ministry has opportunities, and actually Muslim faith support and chaplains, Jewish faith support and chaplains, and Baptist, many others. And what we try to do is promote the dialogue. Between this time when students are 18 to 22, there's a lot of discovery that's going on, and exploring their faith, what they believe about their faith away from their home family, how it becomes their very own, and how they use that. This is the time for that to happen. So we have people from our campus ministry, from our Faber Center, from our Jesuits, and many of our lay people on campus who help folks who would like to explore that further faith life do that, and also be in dialogue with others about how these things have many things in common. But all of this is to make us a holistically well person. We're developing their mind. We have opportunities for them to develop their bodies, use their hands and their hearts, but also to develop their spirit. And that's the moral, ethical work that we do that produces a particularly strong and ethical Marquette leader. You'll see the leaders on the COVID front nationally, Dr. Fauci, Cuomo from New York, they're Jesuit educated. That is no accident that we are very proud of how they are leading, and those are the type of leaders we're developing.
Thanks, Dr. Cole. Dr. Rapella?
I'm sorry, what? Did you call me? Okay. Yeah, our Xavier articulated that well. In fact, Xavier and I feel very passionate about these things and love to talk about, I think, what it means to be Jesuit. And I think the way I like to think of it is not so much about your specific religious practice or beliefs, but I think what's common to any particular faith tradition is that central tenet of love one another as God loves us, and love and treat others as you'd have them do unto you. And I think that's the way we try to live that out, is behind of all of our work, whether we're engineers, whether we are accountants, whether we are nurses, whether we are, English majors, whatever, what are we doing to make the world a better place? What are we doing to serve humanity better? And what am I doing as an individual to love others? Maybe even people who think differently than me, don't look like me, come from a different socioeconomic background than me, don't agree with me politically, whatever it might be. It is that idea that, yeah, that's the real world. The world is this rich milieu of people from all kinds of backgrounds, viewpoints, ethnicities, religions, whatever it be. And how do we do good things in that milieu of life? How do we lead? We want all of our students to go out there and be leaders in their schools, leaders in their work environments, leaders in their communities. And we want them to be servant leaders and to have that mindset of, I'm not number one, someone else always is. And what do I do to serve those others? And that's the heart and spirit that we bring out. And why that it's important to the Catholic tradition, it might be important to the Jesuit tradition. It really is something that we believe and the heart and soul that we want to develop in all people, regardless of any kind of particular faith. I have a college full of people with come from all kinds of faith backgrounds, and the rich discussions we have and the commonalities we find among all of us in terms of what we want in the world and the way we want to treat people is common to everybody. And so And I can tell you, I was brought up as as a Catholic. And what I loved about being a Jesuit institution, it was the Jesuits themselves who said, challenge your own faith, question it, do not blindly follow. That is not what we're asked to do. We're asked to seek truth. We're asked to have knowledge. We're asked to have dialogue. Challenge your own faith. And you should be, because actually it makes you love it even more when you do challenge and you are part of that continually evolving faith network. So I think that's the kind of, the opportunity through our core curriculum, through the way we treat students on campus, the way we treat our faculty, the way we try to live out our everyday lives and being men and women for others. That is where the Catholic and Jesuit is most powerful. It's not so much about a particular dogma or following a set of rules. It really is encouraging those deep conversations about what does it mean to be of a particular faith, or what does it mean to really serve humanity? What does it mean to build mind, spirit, and soul?
Thank you. Dr. Borowski, you want to close us out?
Sure. In fact, it's hard to follow up on those two amazing statements from Dr. Cole and Dr. Rapella. I would add the Jesuits call it cura personalis, and it's the care of the whole person. And one of the things we try to instill in everyone who's part of our community is the care for each other. So whether you have a faith tradition, whether it's Catholic or something else, or you have no faith tradition, the underlying theme that's going to make you feel welcome is exactly what the two of them have been talking about, which is that you will experience care of the whole person. Inside the classroom, outside, from your roommate, from your RA, from the friendly hello you're going to get when you enter the dining hall, from the lady who checks the ID cards. We're all very committed to the same type of thing, and it's a contagious, good feeling to be part of something like that, and to know you're at a place where there's great value put on caring for each other and welcoming everybody to be here and to thrive here and leave here a better person than when they first arrived. So thank you for listening to us all today.
I want to thank our panelists and panelists. I'll just share, we've had a few very generous and kind comments about you taking the time out of your schedules to be with us tonight and providing this perspective during what is really an uncertain time. So I do want to extend a thank you. We can't get a round of applause here, but certainly I know your time this evening is appreciated, certainly by me and by everybody else. So thank you, Dr. Borowski, Cole, and Rapella. I do want to pull up and just highlight a few quick things before I wrap up, and then I'll turn off the meeting. A few things, just quick responses to some questions. First, I actually have a transcript of all the questions coming in. We got to most of them, to be honest, but we still have a few that our team in admissions can actually respond to and follow up. So we're going to be happy to do that. A few things, and I've got the resources slide up here for you to stay connected with us. One thing, just to carry forward a little bit of what these three said regarding our mission. In admissions, we have this mantra that at a lot of institutions, students feel like a number. They aren't sure where they fit in. And it's our job in the Office of Undergraduate Admissions to build our incoming class one student at a time. And one thing it's so nice for me to hear from our administration, how that's just carried forward to and through a Marquette graduation, which is really special to me. And so I want to say thank you to that. To that end, you've got our phone numbers here, 288-7302, area code 414. You can also text us. We love the text questions, and we can respond to those very quickly throughout the day. We had a few questions just about some of the mechanical things about high school graduation and what about my final high school transcript and how are those things going to work? A lot of those questions are answered on that second URL that you see there, the marquette.edu/explore/coronavirus. There is also the place where you can go, if after hearing tonight, if you would like a little bit more time beyond May 1st, the very first question on the FAQs asks about the enrollment deposit, and it's there that you can click a form. Your student will need to complete it, and they'll get a call from one of our admissions counselors just to have a chance to chat with them. But we are granting all those extension requests. But the truth is, we want you here at Marquette. We're so excited for ourselves to be back on campus so we can see each other, not just virtually. We're excited to see and welcome you to our campus. And if there's anything that we can do to be of service to you, that really is what we're here for. As I said at the beginning, we are here to serve God by serving our students, and we appreciate the privilege you've afforded us to consider doing that. So families, we look forward to hearing from you soon. I will follow up, and our office will share this recording with everybody who participated, along with folks who weren't able to make it tonight and who were on our wait list. We may consider doing some more of these programs in the future, but thank you so much for your time this evening, panelists and our families. I'll try to turn this off here.
Mm-hmm.